Sister, your light, firefly glow. Dancing through shadows the world doesn't know. You're a hymn of the cosmos, a galaxy's prayer. Braided with stardust, spun through the air. Let them stare, let them down. Your rhythm's a storm, it's spinning out. Rise and radiate, like the sun at heaven's gate. Shine so loud they can't delay. Rise and radiate. They try to dim a spark in your veins. Painted your beauty in borrowed chains. But you wear freedom like a golden crown. Walking on waters they try to drown. Every step's a note in a melody bold. Every breath's a diamond unbought, unsold. You're the future written in gold. You're the anthem that will grow. Rise and radiate, like the sun at heaven's gate. Shine so loud they can't evade. Rise, rise and radiate. Sister, your light's a firefly glow. Dancing through shadows the world doesn't know. You're a hymn of the cosmos, a galaxy's prayer. Braided with stardust spun through the air. Let them stare, let them doubt. Your rhythm's a storm, it's spinning out. Rise and radiate, like the sun at heaven's gate. Shine so loud they can't fade. They tried to dim the spark in your veins. Painted your beauty in borrowed chains. But you wear freedom like a golden crown. Walking on waters they try to drown. Every step's a note in a melody bold. Every breath's a diamond unbowed, unsold. You're the future written in gold. You're the anthem that won't grow. loud they can't even. Rise and radiate. Rise and radiate. Like the sun in heaven's gate. Shine so loud they can't debate. Rise and radiate. So I went to see the play Noughts and Crosses last week, which is about an interracial relationship in an alternate universe where the world has been colonized by Africa. So instead of there being a black supremacy, there's a white supremacy. And the characters were a black woman and a white man, or the black character still racially abused her white partner. And I did a video about a month or so ago about how people still experience racism in interracial relationships. So today I want to give you some signs that your partner might have some negative racial biases or they may be racist. So let's get into it. So the first sign is probably quite innocuous, at least you might think it is. You know, in the past, like the 80s, 90s, even in the early 2000s with films like White Chicks, it was very normal to do comedies or make jokes about racial stereotypes. It's not so common anymore. I think it's like, you know, people are a lot more politically correct now, so they don't make jokes anymore. But it doesn't mean that people don't make those jokes in their day-to-day lives, you know, between friends, between family members, even between them and their, you know, partner who is of a different race. So if your partner is making jokes all the time about racist, like making racist jokes or you know, making fun of racial stereotypes all the time, then I don't think that, I would say that's not a good sign. I mean, it could just be that they have a really bad sense of humor, or, well, you know, sense of humor is subjective, and I still think White Chicks is funny. But the point is, if they're making off-color jokes all the time, there's a chances that they're not joking, that they actually believe those stereotypes. So that's kind of, you know, a little bit of a red flag. So in the video I did about a month ago, I talked about how people can be passively racist even if they're not, you know, actively saying or doing things that are racist. And one of the ways in which they could be passively racist is that they never talk about race ever. If you are in an interracial relationship, somebody that is a different race from you, different culture, and they never talk about race, and when you try and bring it up, they change the subject or they say stuff like, oh, I don't see race, there's a chance that they do have racial biases that they're trying to repress, and they're doing so by just ignoring the subject of race. Like, whether or not you want to admit it, racism exists. People have different ethnicities and different cultures, and that impacts how people are treated in their day-to-day lives. So if they're not interested in talking about race and they shut you down on conversations about race, then, you know, I would say that this probably doesn't have longevity, because you're going to come up against problems as an interracial couple because of the fact that you're an interracial couple. And if you can't talk about it, then really, where can it go? And thirdly, if their family are racist. Now, you know, this might be fairly obvious, but I think some people, you know, they can be hopeful or even kind of naive that somebody can, you know, separate themselves from their family or not have the same ideals or ideas or beliefs as their family. But, you know, that, as the saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And even if your partner isn't racist and they've like actually managed to, you know, purge their racial biases, and they're working on being actively not racist, then great. But that doesn't change the fact that their family members probably are racist and are going to stay that way. And I think
there was two researchers that did some sort of survey or experiment, and they wanted to find out if being exposed to interracial relationships will make people less racist, and the conclusion that they came to is no, it does not. And they also found that people that were in interracial relationships, they would receive from extended family members. They would also receive less support from family if they were in an interracial relationship, whether or not that family were outwardly racist or not. So, these are just some of the things to think about. I'm not anti like being in an interracial relationship. There's nothing wrong with it. People should just love who they love. But there are certain conversations that need to be had if you're going to be in a long-term interracial relationship. If the person cannot speak about race, I do not think that the relationship has longevity, because you're going to come against obstacles. And if you can't speak about it with your partner, who can you speak about it with? Anyway, those are just some of the signs. Let me know what you thought, and I'll catch you in my next one. Take care. Bye.
Now, my
Obviously not speaking for every guy, and for most guys, if they visit a place like that and they take a picture, you're well traveled and you're going somewhere, of course you're going to take a picture. But when you're on Hinge, that's a dating app where your goal is to attract somebody, right? And your intention there is to post 6 pictures or so that really showcase who you are. And if 2 of those 6 pictures are one, you at this place, cultural attraction, and another pic is you in those like cultural clothes, it does feel like you're not a person of color showing, hey, I'm really connected to my heritage. You're a white person saying, hey, I'm really invested in this other culture. And on a dating app, when that's 1/3 of your photos that you're showing, it does feel kind of targeted. And again, I'm not speaking to everyone. It's just like my experience dating as a woman of color. You can kind of smell these things on white men.
I feel like Midwest racism goes deeper, especially when it comes to interracial couples. Now, walk with me because I tend to ramble. Walk with me, walk with me. So, I'm currently in college and I've started going out, going downtown, going into the bars and all that stuff, experiencing the people in the town that I go to school at. And I go to a predominantly white institution, predominantly white town. So there is not a lot of me. There's not a lot of people like me, look like me. And I've noticed a current pattern when it comes to the type of guys that approach me or the type of guys that interact interact with me, whether it be directly or subtly. And when it comes to white men in particular, not a lot of white men approach me. First off, not a lot of white men um interact with me or like talk to me unless I talk to them first. And I'm very social right now. I would say I'm very social. I know how to talk to people. I like talking to people. But one thing I notice when it comes to white men and how they show their attraction towards me, and let me start by saying there's a specific subset of white men that just proves the subtle racism that I experience here. So to paint kind of a picture, it's me sitting in my blackness, right? Looking gorgeous, talk being social, just existing, and then there's a white man with a girlfriend. The white man is staring me down while the girlfriend is staring at him, staring at me. You get what I'm saying? And this is a very subtle thing, right? You could mistake it as like, oh, like he just thinks you're cute. Oh, like he just needs some chocolate. I feel like it's deeper than chocolate. I think it goes back to the Jezebel ideology. Like a lot of non-black men see black women as exotic creatures. They see it as a delicacy that they need to have, but they're too scared. And I feel like that phenomenon, like I've experienced that way too many times. And it's never an appreciation. It's more like lustful, fetishizing. And I mean, I've had one experience when a guy with a girlfriend, allegedly, that I know of, like, has approached me. And in the end, I felt very, like, when he initially approached me, I didn't know he was in a relationship. I was later told that he was, and he had reached out to me again. And the way he was asking the questions that he was asking me was very like, it's almost like seeking validation, seeking some type of like something from me. And he was like those wiggers, okay? He was a drug dealer, a barber. He looked the part, talked the part. He looked good. Shit, he looked good. But he was asking me questions like, oh, like, do you remember me? Like, oh, like, I think I remember you. Like, like, as if he's seeking some type of validation that I seen him, that he was seen by me, that I was attracted to him, not the fact that like I wanted him, you know what I mean? And that's also another type of psychology with wiggers, seeking validation from black people because they are playing their part.
Public service announcement: if you're dating someone who's racist.
Right. Hello, everyone. This is Better Men, a Black Woman, with another video. I'm not going to be here too long. I'm just going to be here for like a few minutes and then I'm going to be off. I just want to let black women know, when you're dating white men or other men of color, you guys have to know what their intentions are in dating you, because you have to realize that racism still exists in this country. And even though you're showing your interest, or they're showing interest in you, you have to know what their intentions are in dating you. Because when some guys date you, even when they're not black, they have this they have this racial fetish of black women that stems back to slavery. And it's the truth. That, you could say otherwise, that black women are, sexual beings, because our bodies are built differently. We have bigger butts, bigger boobs, hourglass figure, and people just take it the wrong way, as if we're like very easy, uh, um, or that we're stupid or something. But as black women, you have to know race when racism is being played in your face, and it's subtle, but you can still pick up on it, because these guys are trying to get you riled up or upset, while dating. But I'm just going to lift off 5 different racism settlement jokes that when you're dating outside your race. And sometimes these guys are not genuine. You don't want to be around these guys. You guys have to pick up body language too when these guys approach you, because sometimes it's not genuine at all, and you don't know who these guys are, because you might think that they look nice, they seem nice guy, they're clean cut or whatever, but these guys come from a household where their family is racist behind closed doors, and so are them. So I'm gonna start with one. He is talking. Uh, he is stereotyping your culture. Okay, so what I mean by that is when he is mocking the Black culture, like using slang and all that stuff, saying yo yo yo, and he's not even in hip hop attire, and he's just pretty much mocking Black culture, saying that it's ghetto, and and saying things offensive in those type of ways. And I want to let Black women know is that if that's what's happening while you're dating, then you have to move away from that, because he's not really genuine when it comes to dating you. He's not respecting the culture that you come from. He doesn't understand uh your culture, and he doesn't care about learning about your culture. All he knows is about the negativity of hip hop and and ghetto culture that comes from the Black community. He doesn't see the other side of Black excellence. He doesn't see that, and he probably doesn't care to see that. But if you're a Black woman and you establish yourself as a woman that has substance worth, and you don't have that ghetto mentality, then he's doing this stuff in front of you, it's best to get up and walk away. Do not stay throughout that date. Let him go, and also let him know that it's not okay to be mocking somebody else's culture just because they come from like a background of of poverty and other things that come with Black struggle. He doesn't realize what he's saying is harmful, or he might know what he's saying is harmful, but don't let that man play in your face. Number 2, he is mocking Black women that wears wigs and weaves. Now, it might come as subtle as first, like he will say, "Oh, I like your hair," and all that stuff, blah blah, and trying to compliment you, and then he turns around and said that, "Oh, is your hair a wig?" Like, some people have this stereotype that Black women don't grow hair, or they just wear wigs and all that stuff, and that's just not true. Black women do have long hair. It's just that when it's in its natural state is like in an afro or something like that, and it's not like European hair or other cultures' hair where their hair just grows down. Most of our hair grows up into an afro, and to be very sensitive and talk about women's hair and stuff like that, that's not okay. I don't recommend you dating that person, especially if he is being very, very sensitive on your appearance. Don't even interact with him or even bother, engaging any further. Just walk away from him and, be about your business. Now, moving on to number 3. He's not really interested in you specifically. I'm trying to think of number 3 right now. Sorry, you guys. It's a lot of lists that's going on right here, but okay. So number so number 3, he does not want to talk about race. Okay, so basically when your partner is dating you, he has to recognize that he's going to face racism too, because he's dating you, and that he's going to face a lot of scrutiny from his community because he's dating a black woman. So when he doesn't, discuss race, especially with you, because you have to understand, regardless of what part of the United States you're from, there's always going to be a racism, whether it's full blown or subtle. So if he just sits there and ignore it and doesn't acknowledge that this country has a race problem, then he's part of that problem, and you need to let him go because he's not going to stick up for you when there is a racist problem that is going to face him and is going to face you too. And you want a man to stand up to you, to stand up for you and shut that shit down. And if he can't do that, then you need to move on because he has no attention, and he has no intention of standing up against racism. So that's that. Number 4, if you continue to date a man that's racist, knowing that he is racist, then you are a racist. Point blank, period. You can't. I'm sorry, but I have to call some black women out on this because there is no way you can be with a man that is talking shit about your community and you're still going to be with him regardless of what he said. No, you're perpetuating white supremacy with him, and you know that you are, and you just choose to ignore because you want to be with this person. No. Mm-mm. The thing is that if you come from the community that birthed you, right? It doesn't matter whether you live in a all white neighborhood or you live in a Hispanic neighborhood, whatever neighborhood you come from. To him, you're just another N-word. I'm just gonna put it that way. And when you stay in that relationship, there's gonna be a point in time where he's going to disrespect you because he didn't like you in the first place. He just dated you because he wanted to find out what it's like to date a black woman. And which brings me to number 5. When a man tells you that, oh, this is my first time dating a black woman, I never dated a black woman before, or he says that the reason why I date you because I wanted to see what it's like to date a black woman, please leave him. He is no good for you. He is perpetuating a stereotype, whether he knows it or not. And he's a racist because why would he date you based on your race or based on him being curious of what it's like to date a black girl? Black women are like any other woman. We like to go on nice dates. We like to be respected, and we also like to be treated well. But if you have a guy that's from a different community and he is just coming up with you saying you're the first black girl I ever dated, please run, because you're not the only black girl that he ever dated. He just wants to know what it's like to basically have sex with you. Basically, that's just it. He just basically sees you as a sex object and he just wants to smash. That's basically it.
That's it, and that's all. But overall, with those points that I just made, I want to let Black women know that we cannot ignore these signs. These signs are too visible to not ignore. As a Black woman myself, I am very picky who I date. It doesn't matter what race they are. I'm very picky who I date because I don't want to deal with men that just see my body as a sex object, because you're going off a stereotype that Black women are very easy and that we're desperate. And in most cases, that is not true at all. You know, Black women, we do have priorities, we do have self worth, and we do have boundaries. So I just want to, make my statement on that, because I never dated a man that's racist, but I have met men that are subtly racist, and I do not recommend you guys dating them. And I never date men that are racist. I just don't like that, and it's very, very, very disturbing. Um I get paranoid when I'm around men like that, or around people like that in general. I get very paranoid because I do not want to deal with that. But in some situations, this does happen, and the best way to deal with it is to stand up for yourself. Do not make an argument. Do not argue with him. Just say, you know what? You can say what you want all about my community, but that's the community I come from, and I'm letting you know that I do not act like those stereotypes you are talking about. Now, as far as I know, this date is over. You have a nice day, and I hope you find somebody that you want in point blank, period. Like, and don't sit there and put up with that shit. Like, because I heard because I saw a TikTok video or on a woman that went on a date with a white man, and she said that it went pretty good until he started making to start talking about sex to her, and that made her feel very uncomfortable. I did not know why she didn't get up and leave when he started talking about sex. I don't know why she keeps uh, sitting there and engaging with him. But when she kept, as she kept explaining the situation, then he told her that I would love to take you to my house, and so you can see, my balcony or whatever. And that's when I want to have left. Like, when he started making sexual jokes, that's when I wouldn't have got up and made myself known and let him know I'm not into that. That is not what I'm dating for. I'm dating a person that wants to be with me, not for sex, but for companionship and love. And I'm not all about having sex, no, all that sexual shit. But you have a nice day, and I hope you find somebody that you're looking for. That's it, point blank, period. And leave it at that. Just walk away. I don't care about the dating more. Once you bring up, smacks, that's it. I did not go on a date with that, and and guys need to be more honest and not lead women on. But as women, we need to see the red flags in these dates, because, oh my God, the stories I be hearing on YouTube is very, very, very bad. Like,
You guys have to know who you're dating and who is talking that KKK mess. But anyways, I'm done with this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Please click the notification bell so you know when I upload videos and I go live. Talk to you soon. Bye.